Good morning. Good morning. If you guys will just say hey when you pop on this morning, that would be awesome, and let me know that I'm in the right place. Because I did not bring. Oh man, I didn't bring my phone. We'll be okay. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mad Scientist Monday, you guys. We meet here every Monday at 10 a.m. and we do some experimentation, and we find out what happens if, because where experimentation goes, creativity follows. So this morning, I'm doing something a little differently. Ordinarily, there's my can. Normally, I would pick four random prompts out of my can, and then I would have to make something happen in our journal. I love this because it does force us to push ourselves outside of our normal comfort zone, which honestly will take us to places that we hadn't ever thought of going. And a good example of that is I'm going to put you guys down to my table. Okay. A good example of that is actually last week's page, which I knew I was going to talk about the pastel ground, but I really didn't have any other plans other than that. And so we ended up with this really cool project. And I did spray this with a fixative last night, you guys. And I still want to go over and add more pastel to this. But I would have never arrived to this page had I not been playing this game. So if you have the mixed media mashup game, good morning, Elizabeth. How are you? If you have the mixed media mashup game, I encourage you guys to play it. And even if you pull 4 sticks and it feels kind of scary, do it. And I haven't always had pages that I loved, right? There are a few pages in here that I didn't quite love, right? Not everything works out, but it's okay because the experimentation is what's important, not the outcome. And so when I created the Roycycled Journal, which this is the Roycycled Journal, it's 8.5 by 11. It's a good size journal. And every page has a different piece of ephemera on it. So it's for inspiration, and it's also creates a space for you to be able to play and to experiment without expectation. Good morning, Lynn. How are you this morning? Which, when you're wanting to grow creatively, is super important. If you don't make time to experiment, then you'll always do the same things, right? Or you'll always do the thing that somebody else taught you to do, and you won't come to a place where you have your own artistic voice. And so I started this project, and then I'm going to show you guys what we started last night. So now that I discovered that I could attach, so this is a Roycycled paintable floral decoupage paper, and I use my really transparent method to get it onto this dark background, and I ended up with something really beautiful, and I would have never done that had I not been playing the mixed media mashup game. So I'm taking the idea from my page, and now I'm applying it to a clipboard, and this is what we'll be working on and finishing together next Sunday. So one of the reasons I made this the size that it is that if you do something in here, it's easy to translate it into home decor because it's a larger journal. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. It was fun. A beautiful time in upstate New York. Oh my gosh, I'll be in upstate New I think it's in upstate New York is where I'm going at the end of July. So for today, though, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I think every spread or every page that I've done so far, I've covered up what was here. But I did want you guys to know that there are opportunities in the journal for you to just open up and create, right? You don't have to start from scratch. And I did that on purpose. And so for today, the medium that I'll be talking about is watercolor ground. Now, we've talked about the transparent gesso before, and you guys know that the transparent gesso is like the I don't want, generic is not a good word. Transparent, generic, it's like the for all use, right? Like this is your base. If you're like um just starting or you're just curious and you don't want to have to make a lot of investments in a lot of different products, just buy some clear gesso and you can use that to prep your pages and that will be fine. But there's good, better, and best, right? You can create right over your pages. You can absolutely do that. But with some of the products that are more water-based, that's what I was going to do. I was going to get some clean water. I know I was going to forget something. The things that are more water-based, you want something that's going to help you to help that. Oops, there was way more in there than I thought. For your products to lay down better. If you lay watercolor down on a slick page, it'll bead up, which isn't awful. You can let it dry and then you can go over it again. But when you're working, it can be a little cumbersome. And so your what any of your clear gesso is just gonna your watercolor ground is just gonna prime your surface and create a workable base so that you can use. And when I say watercolor, it can be watercolor, it can be inks, right? It can be anything. And so what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've applied a watercolor ground on this page already. And I've also applied a clear gesso on this page. And I want us to kind of look at both applications and see if there's a real difference. I don't know. I'm curious. So I'm going to find out with you guys. This is a watercolor palette that my friend Lexi made for me years ago. At one of my retreats, everybody got a little mini watercolor palette. And so I'm just going to pick a color. Let's do yellow. And I'm going to miss this and let that sit for a few minutes. So today's project, I'm going to do a swatch right now just so that we can see the difference. But ultimately, I want to paint these flowers, but I'm going to be using watercolor pencils today. So I won't be using watercolors. I'm going to be using some watercolor pencils. I've been wanting to experiment with these. And so I bought these probably a year ago. Y'all know how we are. Hey, Jenny. Oh, okay. Yes, I'm going to L&J Good. So I'm going further upstate. Very good. Good morning, Karen. Ooh, vacation. Nice. Where are you vacationing? So I was going to do something and I forgot what I was going to do. I'm so ridiculous. Okay, so we're going to, I was going to look for my stencil so I could put some swatch marks. That's what I was. It's okay. I'll just paint them. So let's do yellow. I'm going to swatch out the yellow. The right side here, I have watercolor ground. On the left side, we have clear gesso. And let's see if there's a real difference to how the paint lays down. So I guess I'll put my water, because I do want to use a yellow. I don't know if it's this yellow on my project. So I'm going to swatch it. And it's laying down really nicely. You see, I got a really opaque application, right? And I'm going to lay it the same way over here on my clear gesso. And honestly, the clear gesso side is a little bit more transparent, but the paint laid down really well. So if you're starting out with watercolor and you're just practicing and experimenting, your clear gesso, it's fine. And the clear gesso is good because you can use it with all kinds of stuff. But I did use a watercolor ground on this today because I was curious to see, what I would get if I use this one. So I am going to be using watercolor pencils, though. I'm just super curious about them. And so I figured that I would play today. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to apply my pencil marks on all of it. And then I'll come through in a few minutes and I'll activate everything with my wet brush. Let me pull you guys a little bit closer. Get a little closer. And so you guys, if I get out of frame, let me know, okay? So, I don't know what kind of flowers these are, so I'm gonna color them the way I want. Which may not be their actual colors, but it's gonna be fine. I have like a red, an orange, a yellow, a kind of a darker yellow. Um, I have a white here. I'll save this white for last, probably. So let's start with these four colors, right? That's a nice set of colors to use. And we'll use these colors for the actual flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and just swatch this out. I kind of hate that I did that now. Look away, you guys. Don't mind me. I'm just going to wipe that off and put the yellow that I'm actually using in my flower. Okay. So I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is the white. And then I have a lighter yellow. And a darker yellow. Which I don't see the difference right away, but we'll see what happens. And this orange. And then I have this red. And I'm going to just take my brush and see if I can put too much water on there. So those are my color swatches. Those are the colors I plan on using on my blooms. I'm going to do another one over here when we get to the leaves because I'll pick some other colors. I feel like I need something cool to go with these, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to start with the darkest color at the base and then work my way up to some lighter colors. Good morning, Chris. How are you? Hey, Kalinda, how are you? Tiger, what color are tiger lilies supposed to be? Because I'm going to just give them a color. And what I'm doing, you guys, is I'm kind of just, this one is not really shaded at all. And so I'm just going to do a graduated color from the bottom to the top. But anywhere where I see that there's a lot of lines, I'm going to go in with my darkest color in those areas. Although I feel like this one should probably be cooler. I may come back in here with like a blue, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to lay down this red in any of the areas where I see lines. And I want my colors to kind of graduate. So I am going to pull that orange into the red a little bit. I don't have any shadows in this one, so I'm just guessing. A little bit right there. And this one probably has some green in it, right? See, I'm already going off script, you guys. But I figure like this one's a little bud, so it probably has some green, right? And this is fun. It's kind of like just coloring. And so I wanted to show us using a page as a jump off part for our creativity, because I don't want you guys to think that every time that you open your journal, that you're kind of obligated, right, to do something really challenging or that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. Sometimes you just have a few minutes to create, right? And you just want to make something beautiful, and that's fine. I feel like this yellow here is not that much deeper than the other one. I'll put that deeper yellow on the inside of the flower where there's likely more of a shadow. They come in orange and yellow, and I'm sure by now they've probably other colors. I know, right? Tiger lilies are generally deep orange, but day lilies can be light or dark yellow orange. Oh, okay. So I'm in the right family then, right? So what are you guys up to this week? And the cool thing about the pencils, I feel like, so I'm using the pencils like this, and we'll go over some other ways that I've seen people use the pencils. I am by in no means am I an expert on watercolors, on pencils. I just want to be like really transparent about that. I'm experimenting and learning just like you guys are with a lot of products. But I just want to expand my expression. And so I'm experimenting with different products to see what I like. Like I'm obsessed with the pastels now. And so that'll probably be my hyper focus for a little bit. And then I'll move on to something else. You guys know how we do. Maybe I should have put red at the bottom here. Deepen that orange just a little bit. And there's like little edges on here, and I know that I'm gonna want those to be white. I mean, they won't ultimately be white, they'll be lighter. Um, but I feel like that's where highlights would be on those turned edges, right? And I'm curious to see how this white um, kind of responds to the other colors when we start painting this out. You okay, Papa? Okay. I've got the grand today, so you guys hear noises in the background. That's what it is. I imagine pencils would be a good start with the paintable papers because you have a lot of control. And I'm using my pencil on dry. We're going to play around in just a little bit. We'll use it on the wet paper and see what that looks like. I have some spots where I've done some grading, gradation from one color to the next. So we'll see what that looks like because I'm not sure. So I'm going to see with you guys. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of white. So whenever, one of the things that highlight does is it communicates volume. So a lot of times you'll see white on a flower, and it's because the flower is folding over. And so there's going to be volume in that fold, right? As the tip of it kind of goes out. And so when I'm looking at here, when I'm looking at my flower, I'm looking at it thinking, where would there be volume like naturally? And I'm going to just go in and add some white in those areas. Like the top of a fold, right? Like right here. This is going out a little bit here. So there might be a highlight there. And I did bring my white paint out today because I am not a purist by any stretch of the imagination. So if I cannot get like an opaque white that I'm happy with using watercolors, I will be cheating. Good morning, Brenda. How are you this morning? Can I use alcohol? I can. You know what, Lynn? You can use anything that you want to use in here. I will say that if you were using alcohol ink markers, I would probably prep my page with some heavy body gel because that's really going to close my fibers up completely so that I could take full advantage of the alcohol ink. You know what I mean? But yes, you can absolutely use alcohol markers. And I'll probably use acrylic markers at some point. I just want to come with you guys and experiment with different products and different processes, right? And we're going to see what happens. And I think I'll start off this with some orange. And we'll move into yellow rather than adding the red, just to add a little bit of, you know, a little something different. David brought me a set of acrylic markers for Mother's Day. My poor husband, I'm like, do not buy me flowers. I want art supplies, please, sir. And so he listened. He brought me some art supplies. Um, so I am like playing with those a little bit. It's interesting though, because I'm so used to like blending and moving my product around. And you can't really do that with the markers. And so it's been like fun kind of playing with them and seeing what I have to do to get what I want from them. Because every medium is different. I do want to at some point, you guys know I have plans. We're gonna like explore mediums more intentionally, but that will be in the future because when we get done talking about the different ways to prep the pages, then I want to start talking about I think I might just no. I wish there was a lighter yellow. Then I might, then we're going to talk about different ways to lay down paint, right? Because you don't have to use a brush. There's more ways to apply paint to a page. And then we get finished with those. Then I want to go into different mediums and explore them more intentionally. So I have plans for the whole year. So I hope you guys will hang out with me as we move through our exploration together. Let's see, you made that all. Oh, that's all that counts. Oh no, they had to remake the glasses after all that. Oh yeah, that's correct, Chris. We've seen your adult coloring books. They're beautiful. Hey, Sandy. Whoops. Okay. I was trying to go back to sometimes I get so involved in what I'm doing, I forget to look at comments. So I wanted to make sure that I hadn't missed anything. This is so relaxing, you guys. And even on the petals where I don't have white, I am using the lighter yellow around the edges. I don't know what I'm going to do about my little, what do you call those things that are in the middle? And so I just wanted to demonstrate for you guys that when you're working in your Roycycled journals, like you don't have to do something completely new or something that's really hard for you. If you've had a rough week and you just need to sit down and have a safe place to be able to create, then that is what the journal is for as well, right? 'Cause I don't know about you guys, but when life gets stressful, I can sit down and create, and it just allows me to disengage for a little bit, just for a little bit. I'll be back, but I just need to let my mind rest for a little bit sometimes. And a project like this, I feel like is really all about that. Because you can kind of zone out. Okay, are all the flowers painted? I think they are. So look at that, looks pretty already, right? This could be like colored pencils. And that's the thing, is you don't have to use what I'm using. You guys can use whatever you want to use. Because for some of us, we're already comfortable with certain medium. We already know what we want, right? Or we already know how to use something. I'm just exploring this from a perspective of, let's see what happens if. But you can use your journal the way you want. I'm just adding some more pigment to my little. Oh, I don't want to mess with it. I want to leave it like that, but I'm not going to. And I just have, I guess it's a watercolor pencil. I think so. I mean, watercolor paint brush. I just brought this like a set of brushes. I don't know. This was in there. So I'm going to start with the lightest colors and work my way down to the darkest colors. And I'm not going to start with a ton of color on my brush. I mean, a ton of water. I guess my lightest color would have been the white. I'll come back to the white. We'll do those last. I overlooked this one. And so if I put a lot of water, it's going to bloom out and I'm not going to have as much control. And so I'm really just using a little bit. I just left that poor little leaf out completely. I'm just going to use a little bit of water on my brush, not a lot. And I'm going to do all the yellows because all I have is this little bit of water right here. And I know once I go into the darker colors, it's going to be harder to maintain them, even when I rinse, if my water is really dirty. And so I'm going to show you guys, you can see the difference. This is where I've added the water. You can see it looks more painterly as opposed to this one where you can still see the strokes from the pencil, right? So I'm really just softening it up so that it looks like paint and not like a pencil. But you can see how much control this would give you over your final uh, piece. So Chris says she usually uses water brushes because it's easier to control. And you know, Chris, I thought about it, but I couldn't put my hands on them this morning. So, and a water brush would allow you to deliver, clean water consistently too. We're right over there, sir. Hopefully today feels relaxing. That was my goal. So I'm gonna rinse my brush. I really didn't have to because now I'm gonna go into my darker colors and I'm gonna start blending those. Whoops, that's a little bit too much water. Blending those out too. And I do want to kind of blend them into my yellow. You use a little bit too much water on that one. We'll let that dry. I dip my brush really in my cup deep in order to clean it. And I think I filled up the belly with water. So I'm getting a lot more water now, as opposed to before when I was just dipping the tip in there. So if you want to have a little bit more control, it's something to consider. Thank you, Sylvia. And you know what? You guys see what I'm doing, right? None of this is like rocket science. There's no reason why you guys can't do this. This is literally like we used to color in coloring books when we were little, which you guys, I don't know about you guys, but it used to bring me so much joy to color in my coloring book until my brother would come and ruin my pages. I would like try to get him to use his own coloring book so he wouldn't ruin my pages, but that just was not happening because I was the big sister and he wanted to work in my book. And I'm literally just moving that pigment around. I'm going to save the white until last. Um, and the cool thing about this page is the same thing with a lot of the other paintable Roycycled designs, is that a lot of the shading is done on this flower. So, and it's still showing through. So you can still see the lines, right? So they're still informing the shadows there. And I'm just kind of adding, re-wetting my yellow for these because everything is dried out so that everything blends together nicely. This is so fun. I wish you guys were doing this with me. I'm going to go in. So I am cleaning my brush, like I'm dipping it in here to really try to clean everything off. So I am actually going to squeeze this because I don't want a lot of water. So I'm going to squeeze this so I can get, because what happens is the water gets welled up right here. So I'm going to squeeze it because I don't want that to happen right now. I want to have a lot of control. So I'm just dipping just the tip of my brush into the water, not the whole thing. Hey, Rajani, how are you? Yeah, Silva, exactly like you were 10, before we judged our work, before we cared how it looked, when we loved the color and we played exactly like we were 10. Although nowadays 10 is already preteen for kids. I was playing with Barbies when I was in middle school. Still, I'm going in with the white. I don't want to kill the white, but I don't want it to be like bright white either. So I'm just kind of pulling a little bit of color from the surrounding areas into the white. And I want to soften those edges up just a little bit, right? This one has a lot of edges on it. So I'm going to pretend, I like to make stories in my mind whenever I'm working. So I'm going to pretend like this one maybe is just opening. And I feel like I want to go in with some green. And I have this. So I'm going to have to pull my greens out anyways for my leaves. So I'm thinking for the greens, we can do this yellow, which we use in the flowers. And then I'm choosing, so I'll show you guys the greens that I have to choose from. I kind of have all of these greens, but these two seem like they're like really bright and they're not gonna work. They're too bright. These greens that I'm gonna use are a little bit more muted. And I actually wanna bring in a little bit of red in my leaves too. So these are the 5 colors I'm gonna use for my leaves. And when I'm doing my swatches, you guys will notice it goes from darkest to lightest. I like to do that so my brain can kind of register that. And I actually want to bring in a little bit of red in my leaves too. So these are the 5 colors I'm going to use for my leaves. And when I'm doing my swatches, you guys will notice it goes from darkest to lightest. I like to do that so my brain can kind of register that. And And then when I go to apply color to my piece, then I can kind of keep that in mind. And red is a weird color because red is beautiful and you don't think about it being dark, but red is actually a really dark color, like as far as value. So I'm thinking that it's actually even darker than that green. So this is the order I'm going to put mine in, from darkest to lightest. And I know it seems a little weird to put a little red in my leaves, but um, it's gonna make them help make them not fall so flat. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. And I'm gonna add. Am I gonna put any white on my leaves? Maybe a little bit. We'll put a white there. Um, and let's just wake those up a little bit. I should start with the lightest color, not the darkest. Okay, so those are the colors I'm going to use for my leaves. And I have those colors over there. And I kind of like putting swatches on here. At the retreat, I have like little squares and circles and everything on the stencils so that everybody could make their own swatches for each of their projects. And I have brown here, but I think I might just mix this kind of, I'm going to call it a dirty green, like a camel green, and I'll just mix it with red. Because red and green complement each other. Do I have a color wheel here? I should. I think I have one somewhere. I'm still blaming Megan if I can't find anything. I cleaned off my desk to do a live on Decoupage Plum. So red and green are opposite of each other on the color wheel. And so when you mix them together, they kind of cancel each other out, neutralize each other. And so I'm going to be able to make a really pretty brown, I think, if I do that. So I'm going to do that for all of the branches. And I don't even have to worry about necessarily like changing up which colors I'm going to use because the branches have shading on them. And so they're going to do all the work for me. Although I might come in with something a little brighter on the bottom here. And maybe on the new, I'm thinking these are new, right? The new stocks that are coming off might be a little brighter than the main stem. And then I'm going to go in and add red on top. I'm going to do just a little bit down here on the bottom. Okay. Working helps by my art supplies. It's a dilemma. It is a dilemma. Oh my goodness. So for my leaves, I have a couple of people here for my membership, so they already know my story. For some reason, my leaves always end up looking like they weigh like 50 pounds. And so I'm going to start with the lighter color and then work my way up to darker colors on the leaves. I am going to go in and anywhere where I see the leaf kind of turned up a little bit, I'm going to go in with my highlights for those areas. I don't have a ton, but there are a few. And it's funny because you really have to like step back and look because I don't know how I miss things when I'm so close, but I guess that's the deal, right? And I'm trying to think of a leaf growing. I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to work opposite of what I did on the flowers. And I'm going to do more bright green coming off of the stock, I think. Now, Rajani, you're in your garden, so you would probably have a really good reference for something like this. I'm assuming you've been in your garden this morning. I guess I don't know your schedule, but or maybe not. We actually got a decent amount of rain last night. Are you already full? Okay, you don't have to eat it, Papa. I just brought it so you can have a snack. This one down here is kind of in the shadow in the back, so I'm going to go in with that really dark green in here. And honestly, I know that because there are a bunch of lines right there. So that tells me that. So I'm literally just following. You can almost think of it as a by number. So I'm going to go in here with my grungy yellow. And then I'll layer on that dark green. And you know, this will be a good chance for us to see what it would look like to do to do the pencils on wet paper. I'm going to go ahead and blend these out. I'm going to go ahead and blend everything out. And then before we add the dark green, we'll have the paper will be wet so we can see how the pencils behave. Okay. Does that sound like a plan? Hey, Lady Poe, how are you doing? Oh, it's too muddy in the garden. I know we got some rain last night. I wasn't sure because it like kind of acted like it was gonna rain and then it decided that it wasn't going to and then it did. So which I'm having mixed emotions about because I have stuff pulled out, but it's okay. And I'm okay pulling this green into my yellow for this one because ultimately my leaves are gonna be green. This is kind of like just my base, I guess. I'm being a bit of a chicken because I don't want them to get too dark and look really heavy too fast. Hey, Karen, how are you? But you guys see how fun this is? And imagine how relaxing you would be right now if you were doing this. Or maybe you are doing it. I didn't play the game, you guys, because I wanted to just show that you can just use the pages in the journal for inspiration if you want. You don't have to paint over it and start from scratch. So there are different kinds of pages in your journal. And so those are really light. Let's bring in a little bit more of something in there. And so now the paper is wet, and so I can still come in with my pencil. Well, that's nice. So I'm able to create like these really soft lines because everything is wet. Hmm. And I can even wet my pencil if I wanted. to kind of lay down even more pigments. I think I'm going to use the dark in the middle of the leaves. You know what? It's almost time to go to school, Papa. We're going to be finished up here. Nope, you're not late. School doesn't start till 12:30. I like wetting the pencil. It's almost like using it like a brush. Very interesting. Crafting Witch Tracy Hugs. That's a long name, girl. Yes, Lady Poe, I'm using watercolor pencils. We started with the watercolor ground for this page, although we experimented with the difference between the watercolor ground and the clear gesso. And I mean, the clear gesso is really good too. So if that's what you have, that's fine. And we're going in with the pencils, and then I'm going with my brush and softening things up. Although now I'm just, experimenting with using the pencils on a wet surface, and now I'm actually wetting the pencil because why not? And you guys know what? I haven't really wet the stem yet either. So I'm going to go back and do that. The brush gives you control, but the pencil kind of gives you even more control. And you're able to lay down more pigments. But I am going to come in and kind of soften that up. A lot more pigment with the wet pencil. And I probably should have put white right there. So I'll just pick that up. The cool thing about watercolor too is you can just pick it up. I could use my brush. I could use my paper towel. Because this leaf is kind of like bending over. So I'm going to go and put some white right there. And I'm thinking I want to do the same thing right here too. We were talking earlier about white communicates volume. So anywhere where your subject is like sticking out, you can put a highlight in that area, and that will really emphasize and give it more shape so that it doesn't feel flat. This one I'll put a little bit right there. And then we'll soften that out. In all those white areas, I'm just going around and pulling a little bit of color into them so that they're not like bright white. So they don't look stark against everything else. And let's go through and take care of our stem. I feel like this red is still really, it didn't really move, did it? And I'm going to go in here with this dark green. The red really dominated that blend. And so I'm going to go in with this darker green and see if I can get the neutral color that I want. And I could make my life easier and just use a brown pencil, but like, why would I do that? No, honestly, I like to use, we use a lot of the reds in the flowers. And so by bringing it into these other parts, we just create some harmony. I am going to go in and add a little bit of red to my leaves, probably like along the edges, maybe the little caterpillars got to them a little bit. Just a little bit, not a ton. Watercolor pencils are fun, you guys. And I'm just dabbing that because I did find when I just like pull my brush across that it pulled the paint off of the surface. So I'm just kind of dabbing it out. That was fast. I was able to do that whole thing in just one setting. These white areas are bothering me. They look a little bit too like, I don't know, deliberate. I don't want to obliterate them, but I do want to like blend them in a little bit more. I think that those look good. It's just a few of them that look really. Okay, Tracy, I will call you Tracy. I love watercolor pencils now too. Um, okay, have a good day, Lady Fold. Hey Doris, how are you this morning? Thank you, Karen. This is fun. You guys see, like, legitimately, how fun was that? I almost feel like I want to do something else with these big edges on this flower. No, you don't go to school till 12:30, Papa. It's only 10:59. We still have like an hour. I'm almost finished. And when we finish up here, then you can brush your teeth and wash your face, and then we'll go, okay? I'm going in with this really light green and just adding it here. I don't know why. I just feel compelled to do so. So I am. And not even a ton, just a little bit. And I've just been using the same brush the whole time because I honestly don't mind if the colors bleed out past the lines a little bit. Not that that's happening, but like it would actually be really cool if it did. Because this specific page, this is like super sketchy and not like sketchy, like scary, but like, but sketchy in that, it was a sketch. It wasn't like a finished work. And so if you painted it loose, it would still be really beautiful. I feel like we finished really fast today. Probably because I didn't have to spend 20 minutes spinning about what I was going to do. So we did not play the mixed media game today because I just wanted to show. Oh, I still have, what do you call these things in the middle, you guys? There's a name for them. And usually they're yellow, right? But I can't kind of use yellow because they wouldn't stand out against everything. Or maybe I should just leave them. Let's do one and then we'll see what happens. We'll use the red. See if we like it. And then I'm going to use brown for the stems. But we'll use like this orangey brown. Right? It's brown, but it's still not like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because the sketch marks them out pretty good. I'm just going to drop some water in there. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. So what do you guys think? Should I paint these? Oh yeah, that looks better. Or leave them. I think it looks better painted. Thank you. Stemmons. I knew it. I just couldn't think of it. Stemmons. The little things that the bees like to eat off of. That's what they are. I'm doing red because I figure red will show up. If I did yellow, it would just disappear into the yellow of the plants. Should I do a background? Oh, I have a few up here. And I could just wet my pencil into it. And then I would be done in one. What are you doing? Okay, I'm going to dry. My page is curling up right here, so that's going to run. So I'm going to hit it with my dryer real quick. Yeah, I agree with Johnny. I think they look better painted. And another way I could use this is I could actually just take my brush and I could pick up pigment right off of here if I wanted to. So you know how when you get down to the end of your project and you want to make like small little tweaks. You can do that. I'm going to go and just add a little bit more red to those darker areas. I like the contrast of the red and the yellow and the white. I think that's what makes them feel like alive. Contrast is something that I struggle with. I don't know, it's interesting. Okay, what do we decide on the background? Thank you, Tracy. Like, you guys, how fun was that? And so this is just a page within the Roycycled Journal. There are some other ones. I painted over a few of them. This is a page you could just paint. Even this page, you have the butterflies. So you have some pages where you have botanicals that you could just go in, put clear gesso over the top of them, and you can just paint them. Some of the pages that I made were really intended for you guys to kind of like, even this page would be fun to paint. Some of the pages I wanted you guys to kind of explore color. And so I snuck in some, I almost did this one. It was close, but I decided on the other one. Even this one has some bits that you can color in and then maybe do something organic over the letters here. So you don't have to roll over your pages and start from scratch. This could be like a color swatch. If you're working on a project and you're working out your color story, each of these could be a color that you're going to be using in your projects. I think every page is super thoughtful about what you guys could do with it. Even have a chandelier. How fun would that be to paint? So you can absolutely paint over your pages if you want. I haven't decided if I'm going to paint this guy or if I'm going to just decide if I'm going to do something over him. I feel like I should paint him, right? Because again, all the shading is already there. So I could go over with a transparent color and it would be beautiful. So I think that's all that we have today because I do have the gram today and I have to get him dressed and get him to school. Be careful, Papa. And so unless you guys had any more questions, I was going to wrap up right now. I'm so happy with this. And I think that the neutral background makes the colors pop off even more. What do you guys think? So I think that's all I have for today's experiment. Your Cleopatra, is that, I'm assuming that's a flower, girl, because I do not know about flowers. I do not, I love them, but I do not know about them in real life. I'm pitiful. My grandmother would be so disappointed. She loved her flowers. But that's all I have today, you guys. You guys have a blessed week. And again, I want to encourage you guys to experiment and to play and just see what happens. I know that the journals are beautiful and I wanted them to be beautiful because I wanted them to feel special, but I do not want them to be precious. This is a safe space. This is your space to come and find inspiration, to experiment and to see what happens. And whether that's with a new product or a product that you've had for a while, or maybe you have some products you bought and you haven't used them yet, pull them out and see how they act and see what happens when you use them. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. You have a blessed week. And remember, where experimentation goes, creativity follows. Thank you guys so much for joining. Have a good day.